I don't like being negative. I don't like to sit here and say everything's the worst, but literally, Marvel is the worst right now. Howdy, howdy, I'm American Texan, and I like to read comic books and enjoy the stories inside, the art inside. We'll let other channels talk about the drama and the stupid things creators say. We're all about what's going on in the books. And look, I know I started kind of on negative. I'm going to start my reviews on a negative, but I promise you I'm going to end it on a positive. Even though there are some poor books coming out right now, there are some great books coming out right now that we'll talk about at the table. If you have not already heard, we are doing a subscriber giveaway. We passed 100 subscribers, so we are doing a giveaway, including a couple of books that I have right here. Geiger Volume 1, which is a great read. If you have not started the Geiger series, I'm going to give this away to a subscriber who comments, as well as Batman Mad Love Facsimile #1. This is a great read. I have the trade. It's a fun thing. Anytime you see Paul Dini doing Batman, it's going to be a good time, whether it's the cartoon or the comic series. So I'll put this in there. I've also got a couple of indie comics I'm going to put in there. Additionally, if we get to 200 subscribers by the end of the month, which we have 1 week left to get about like 80 subscribers, I will be doing a bonus giveaway of a Junkyard Joe Deluxe Edition hardcover, still sealed. This is my favorite series of all time. I got the Comic-Con signed exclusive, so I don't think I want this one anymore, so I'm going to give it away if we hit 200 subscribers by the end of February. So if you want to get in on either of these, comment below free 100 after you subscribe, and I'll do the drawings, pick a random video, then pick a random comment that has free 100, and we'll get in contact about how to win that. So let's go over to the table and let's talk about what I read. All right, let's talk some comic books. I got 4 Marvel comics, 4 DC comics, and 1 Marvel trade to share with you today. And normally I like to go in order of like lowest count or lowest issue number first, but we got to talk about Ultimate Spider-Man first. Look, I try to keep things positive. If I don't like a book, I'll say why I don't like it, and then I'll move on. I'm going to spend a little bit more time on Ultimate Spider-Man because this needs to be addressed. This is, I mean, look, you can sit here until you're blue in the face about, you know, men being men and treating women right, but when you see a man disrespect a woman in public, lay hands on her, you got to stop everything and address it. Now, look, I say that this is obviously, we're talking comics, okay? But this is a train wreck, and Marvel should be ashamed of themselves. That's actually how I started my League of Comic Geeks review. Marvel should be ashamed of themselves. Hickman was, yes, cooking slow. He was on the slow cooker. And there were several issues that people didn't really care for because it didn't feature a lot of Spider-Man. I understand that. I understand you want Spider-Man in a Spider-Man story. I also enjoy that. I like being able to back up and just slowly enjoy this rollout. And I've been enjoying it. And I totally get it. If you thought you didn't like that, I understand that. I don't like it sometimes when I'm watching a TV show and there's like a whole episode without the main characters. Like, it's fine when you have 6 seasons like The Scrubs and they decide to do a show around the 3 side characters. Like, that's fine. But when you have a book like Ultimate Spider-Man and out of the first 12 issues, 2 of them don't feature Spider-Man or Peter Parker, that's a problem. Like, I can totally get behind that. And yeah, eventually, I think after issue 18 and we had another 2 issues without Peter Parker Spider-Man, yeah, I was getting kind of frustrated, okay? I could totally see that. I could feel that. But I was still enjoying it, right? I was eating a chicken sandwich today and I was like, this chicken sandwich is so good. Some bites were better because they were just juicier than other bites. Not every bite's going to be like a 100% grand slam. Okay. Ultimate Spider-Man was kind of like that. Okay. But Marvel editorial or Marvel leadership said, we're going to end the Ultimate Universe and we're going to wrap up all the issues at 24 and Ultimate Spider-Man is included. So once you got to issue 19 or 20, the normal good Hickman slow cook that I've come to enjoy, and many people have come to enjoy, I understand not everyone, they decided to take it out of the slow cooker, put it on a pan, shove it underneath the broiler at 600, 700 degrees, and try to cook this thing to a crisp in 24 issues. And last issue, in issue 23, it was super obvious that this is wrapping up way too fast, way too much in a non-Hickman-like manner. And this issue 24 is just more of that. Instead of getting extreme foreshadowing, instead of having a slow build to have an immense payoff. For example, Richard Parker's Venom suit, right? That was introduced in issue 2. And It was a joy to see several issues, this thing slowly morph into what we expected to be the ultimate Venom, right? And we were kind of crazed out that it ends up being Richard Parker. And we don't actually, he's in a black suit, spider suit, but he's in this for a little bit before it becomes like full on Venom. And then you get the Venom reveal. Like, this was dripped out intentionally. I agree, slow, maybe too slowly sometimes. But the payoff was fantastic for it. We got to theorize, right? It's like a weekly episode release. And instead, we're just getting all of the things in this last issue just dumped on us. There are so many things that were not foreshadowed, that were not dripped out in this issue, that just pull the rug out from under you. Okay? For example, Kingpin, we kind of figure out or learn in this issue, maybe it was hinted at before, but we didn't get it that much. He's got some kind of electrical exosuit or some kind of electrical something going through his body. This panel looks amazing, right? But now we understand, like, oh, this is why Kingpin is so strong and so overpowered, because he has this electric something or other coursing through his body. We got nothing about this in the last few. There was no indication that this was his power. He just kind of shows up, and he's like this, right? There's no hint out of it. There's no foreshadowing. There's no discussing. It just happens, right? And then we get to Richard Parker and Black Cat, Felicia, breaking into the vault to try to erase some records or something. Again, they just decide to do it in issue 23, and they just go do it. Like, this should have been a whole issue on its own. But instead, it's, no, let's just go do this. And they just do it in issue 23, and now they're in the middle of it, okay? We get them trying to do this break-in, and literally at page 1, there's something happening. Page 2, oh no, there's some kind of feedback mechanism that is copying the symbiote suit, and now we get anti-venom, right? It happens in 3 pages. There's no lead up to it. There's no explaining how this is happening or how this defense system works, or, it just shows up. Again, this is just Hickman, I'm sure, had this idea, and this should have happened in issue 32, but Marvel said, wrap it up. So he's got to wrap it up here. This whole Richard Parker Black Cat should have happened over 1.5, maybe 2 issues. And instead, we're just getting it all thrown in our face. Okay, Otto, in issue 22, it might have been issue 23. I think it was 22, though. He's like now helping the Parkers, getting them dinner, something about the soy sauce or something like that. Like, none of this was explained. It's just happening, right? We're no longer reading a comic. The comic is just happening, and we just get to kind of look at it happen. This is, if I was Marvel leadership, I would be embarrassed. If I was Hickman, look, you did your best, dude. I understand. And I don't know how much he fights against Marvel's terrible ideas. For example, Imperial. I think they screwed him on Imperial too. And this is just a bunch of stuff happening. Okay. So the art's great. Kaketo's art is great. But the storytelling, I think Hickman did his best. Obviously, this went back for several rewrites because he had to try to do in 2 issues this isn't even like an issue that was supposed to go 10 and has to wrap up in 6. This is like this is something that should have taken 4 years, 48 issues, and having to get wrapped up in 3 issues after the announcement. It's embarrassing. It's just awful. And so all this happens, and then it gets kind of wrapped up. Spoilers, okay? So I didn't do a spoiler warning at first. Oh yeah. Also, there's this scene here where they're trying to plug this device in, right? And they're getting caught up in the anti-venom. We see Felicia getting sucked in. We see Richard reaching. We see Spider-Man show up here. He's like, oh no. And then these kids are kissing. Like, that's it. Like, we didn't see him plug the device in. We didn't see the device kind of start to recede or go away. No, it's just, oh my gosh. And then he looks and they're just kissing. Like, there's an entire page missing from this. Another thing, right? And we also find out that all of the Mysterio entities or identities are now in one. So that's how Gwen Stacy's alive. That should have taken a whole issue to explain, maybe 2. It's just when I read this, I was incredibly disappointed. Now look, I'm still going to keep it. I'm still going to chase. I'll tell you this. I'm still going to chase the family variants that I don't have. But I'll tell you this. I'm not going to chase them as hard, right? Like, if this was a banger thing, like, I would pay up to $100 for some of these covers, right? But now, if I see like a 1 in 1,000 for $100, it's not worth it to me because I just didn't care too much about the series. I don't even know if I'm going to reread it. Some of these comics I like to go back and reread. I don't even know if I'm going to reread this one because it just ends so poorly. Marvel screwed the pooch on this. They not only pulled the rug out from under us, they lit it on fire and threw it back on top of us and said, "Oh, isn't this better?" It's not better. This is awful. This is just a kick in the teeth. So Ultimate Spider-Man 24, look, the art's great, and I think Hickman did his best. But this is an example of what's wrong with Marvel right now. Is the editorial thinks they can dictate stories better than the creators, and this is why DC is kicking Marvel's butt when it comes to storytelling. And I don't care about sales, right? Like what you like. If no one else likes a book, that shouldn't hinder what you like more, right? And if no one else was reading this, I would still like Ultimate Spider-Man as much as I do or did, right? I don't care about numbers. I don't care about sales. I care about what books are telling great stories and passionate stories. And the reason why DC books are better right now is because DC, according to Scott Snyder from an interview, I think it was on Comic Pop, they're letting their creators tell the stories they want. Now, as far as I know, editors, their job, editorial, besides hiring, is to make sure continuity is in place and to obviously check for not only grammatical errors, but also errors like maybe this character wouldn't act this way, or maybe this character wouldn't say it this way, or they should be like, for example, Rogue. Like if she doesn't say her I's, she says Oz, like they spell them A-H instead of I. I don't care for that decision, but at least they would make that consistent across the line. So she's not saying I in Uncanny and then ah in one of her solo runs, right? That's what editorial should be do. But Marvel editorial has decided that they know storytelling better, and they are proving that they don't. And this is another example of creators getting just absolutely screwed. I hate that. And you know what? If in case you guys haven't told, if you've been around for a while, since I started this channel, I don't swear. So, I'm not going to sit here and just go on a tirade like some other creators would. That's just not me. But I'll tell you this is, I'm just fed up with this. This is disappointing. I don't want to say I'm not mad. I'm disappointed because I'm honestly a little mad because this is a creator I respect and I really enjoy. And the fact that he has a non-compete with Marvel just means that he's just getting trounced and he's in this almost abusive relationship that obviously doesn't respect him, obviously doesn't care about the stories he wants to tell. And he's one of the best writers out there. And he can't cook. He can't cook. They're ruining his cook. Just terrible. So Ultimate Spider-Man, just again, the art was the best thing about it. And it couldn't land the plane. They took the landing gear away midair. And said land the plane anyways. So anyways, that's kind of a disappointment. That kind of also leads me, I wanted to talk about that first also before I go into Wolverine, because even though I specifically read this first because I didn't want my expected disappointment in this one. I was hoping to like this one more than I did, but I didn't want it to impact everything else. So I actually read Ultimate Spider-Man last out of all these books. I read Wolverine, Weapons of Armageddon first, and I didn't care for it too much. So this is hitting a lot of the same beats many Wolverine stories do. We've got Wolverine having PTSD flashback to his Weapon X days. We have another mysterious Wolverine character. Weapon X is back trying to make another character. I like this hunter lady, this mutant hunter that's turned to, or mutant tracker that's turned to more trying to save mutants. I think that's an interesting story. The art is great in this one. I really enjoyed the art, but it just kind of seemed to be like a shove in here. Like we want Wolverine to kind of introduce origin boxes to the people. And I guess if you're not familiar with what's going on, if you didn't read Incursion, I read the first few issues of Incursion and then I bounced out because I did not care for that either. I guess it explains what these origin boxes, well, it doesn't even explain what the origin boxes are. It just says that they exist. And now some people have gotten a hold of them and they're trying to use them to create other ones. I was also looking forward to Nuke. I think Nuke is cool. I really liked his, I think it was 2014 or 15 Captain America Nuke story. I thought that was a really good story. He's just kind of shoved in here. Like, okay, now we need you to go fix a problem. Okay, sure. Another flashback. And yeah, they come across this place and they discover the origin boxes. Now I think they're going to try to figure out what the origin boxes are. There just wasn't anything in here. I'm already like, look, I said this, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but I haven't said it on video. Blood Hunt was meh. Okay. One World Under Doom, I was super excited for. I thought that was a fantastic idea. Totally underwhelming. Marvel just obviously did not care about it. Now they're trying to hype this Armageddon thing, and I'm like, I don't care anymore. I'm so apathetic. And look, I'll like books that most people don't like. I just didn't care for this one. It just didn't do anything for me. So again, another one that I didn't really care for. Okay, let's go into Marvel. No, let's go into some good stuff. Okay, Dungeons of Doom, number 2. This one is actually surprising me very good. Benjamin Percy is hit or miss with me, but lately he's been more hit. And Philip Kennedy Johnson, he's fantastic. He's not in Can Do No Wrong territory, but he is doing really good. And I really enjoyed this one. This is more horror than I thought it would be. This mutant character, I think it's a mutant that like is some kind of eldritch horror thing, has me really interested. When you walk in the room with this character, a projection of Professor X is like, don't release him. And they're like, well, obviously we want his treasure, so let's see what's in his body, right? And for some reason, this dude, when he tries to cut him down, he cuts his mouth first. Like, that's an interesting choice. But then it becomes this nightmare. I thought this was super great. I'm not a huge horror guy, and I'm not a huge Marvel anthology guy, but this one's each one of these stories I thought were really entertaining. This one is just horror to the max, and I was really enjoying that. There's also a story with this new Wakandan character called the Umbra. I think it's the Umbra. I kind of like this character. I don't know who he is. I don't think we've seen his face, but he's got this high-tech suit, and we find out there is another herb similar to the heart-shaped herb. This is called the skull-shaped herb, and I won't spoil what it does, but I'm super intrigued with this. Then we got the Hydra agents that discover a hammer, and it's kind of like Mjolnir. It's magically imbued. I thought that was interesting. And then we get the Latverian special forces who actually started trying to protect the castle. They don't want outsiders getting Doom stuff, which they think is the rightful property of Latveria. But then they get sucked into some action and some happenstance here, and they find themselves in a tomb of Khonshu, which is interesting. So all of this, I thought, look, I'm enjoying this a lot. The theme of the book is starting to look like instead of these are the treasures that Doom tried to keep hidden for himself, it looks like he's trying to keep them hidden for the world. This is his way of protecting the world from these horrors inside of this tomb. So I really like this. Dungeons of Doom I thought was fantastic, and the art is great. I would recommend Dungeons of Doom. And I think it's only 3 issues. So I think it wraps up in the next one, and man, I really, really enjoyed that one. Now, let's go on to another book that I really enjoyed, Daredevil and Punisher. This one is an absolute joy, and actually, this is doing something that I normally don't care for in books, but he did it so well. The dialogue is great. I am super enjoying this exploration from Palmiotti on the different types of vigilantism that Daredevil and Punisher take. Daredevil, of course, his vigilante justice is capturing the criminals that fall through the cracks in the justice system to make sure that they actually go through the proper way. So if they're hiding something or if they manage to get off on lower terms, he figures out a way to find evidence, or of course just basically punishes them for their dirty deeds. But Punisher, of course, is like, no, I'm the executioner. I'm just going to kill you, right? So, I mean, depending on the criminal, I side with Daredevil, and the other criminals, I side with Punisher. I'm just going to be honest. We get this interesting date scene. Don't really care about that. But what we're really here for is the ultimate meeting between Daredevil and Punisher. Daredevil, or Matt Murdock, goes through Misty Knight to have a meeting with Daredevil and Punisher. And when we got to this section here, I thought, oh no, here we go again. Marvel is just going to talk things out. Marvel keeps doing this where they just talk things out over coffee. In this one, we're talking things out over water. But Palmiotti saves it with the dialogue. I love the dialogue. There is a lot of tension in the dialogue. I don't think it's communicated the best way through the art because they're a little too relaxed. I don't think they would be this relaxed, especially under a thumping club. But I think there's some really great dialogue here on them respecting their different forms of vigilantism and the reason why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. He says, I would have, Daredevil basically says, some of the people that he could get locked up, he can't because the Punisher interferes in a way that messes with the investigation or messes with the justice system. Punisher says, I would get these criminals off the street if you would stop locking them up, right? So, I mean, again, you can really see both sides. And it's also not an action heavy issue, but as you can see, it does end with, I think, 3 or 4 pages of some pretty good action. So I'm super enjoying Daredevil and Punisher. It gets pretty gory towards the end, but man, it is an absolute joy. So this one is definitely a recommend from me on this. Moving on to DC. DC was a much more enjoyable reading experience for me. I enjoyed all of these. Absolute Batman, really, really enjoyed. I think some people, kind of like Ultimate Spider-Man, some people were getting tired of Peter Parker just not being in every issue. I think some people are starting to get tired of Absolute Universe just being monster-fied versions, or what do they call those? The where the body horror versions, I guess we'll call it that. Anyways, I can see that. I'm not getting tired of it. We also got a new artist on here, Eric Canetti. Man, absolutely fantastic art here. I think this really gels well. And we don't get too much of a setup. We just open right up with Batman investigating this new garden that's propping up in the middle of, or the heart of the city. We also get a revisit to Batman's friends who are about to become his enemies. I wonder if there's going to be like a frenemy stage of them. Like, hey, well, I'll respect you, but I won't try to kill you. And then maybe they'll eventually morph into just full on, like, I'm going to try to kill you. Awesome stuff. We get some horror, body horror stuff on this one. I really, really enjoyed it. And spoiler alert, if you haven't already seen it, we get full on Poison Ivy, which is just like horrendous, but crazy. I also like this here. We get a little like montage of her, like how seductive she can be, which I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. Like, it's not just Poison Ivy. It's also maybe the pheromones she's giving off. This is how she makes her plants look, I think. But here is the real Poison Ivy. And man, she is just horrifying. So I thought this was a great introduction to her. Very interesting story here being woven. And then we get a lot of drips on side stories. We get a little bit of it at the end with Gordon and Martha Wayne. And then you got a little bit, like I said, with his frenemies. I can't remember. I think there was something in here too about Robin. So lots of little drips there. And I think I really, really like that and enjoy that as well. So Absolute Batman was an absolute joy to read. I'm also enjoying Superman Unlimited. I saw that Dan Slott's going back to do a Spider-Man story. So some people are talking about if he's going to drop Superman Unlimited. I'm enjoying this one. This is just like Dan Slott giving his best Silver Age impression, and I think he's doing a really good job. We've got the Prankster version 2, which I didn't realize. I don't know if this is a new character, but the Prankster has a nephew that's also the Prankster Jr. or Prankster 2.0. I don't know. But I thought this was great. I thought this was a lot of fun. I thought maybe they were going to do an homage to whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow, where the Prankster revealed Clark's secret, because in this one, he's going after Clark. And Clark, in his own silly kind of Silver Agey way, gets out of it, manages to not only trick everyone to thinking that Superman hid Clark Kent from being hurt, but he kind of gets away with it. So I really enjoyed Superman Unlimited. This was a 2-part story. I like these 2-part arcs. They're just quick telling and done. And, we still got Gold Superman here, which is an interesting ability that we have introduced, but it's working for me. So Superman Unlimited, I enjoyed very much. And last superhero DC proper book I read was World's Finest 48. And I didn't know this going into it. I didn't read the solicit. On the ongoings, I don't read the solicits. They're just automatically pulled for me. This takes place on Earth 3. And so we get Batman being evil, and you get the introduction of how the Wayne family got murdered on Crime Alley when Batman was young, or I should say Bruce Wayne was young. And we find out that Bruce Wayne actually set up Joe Chill to do that so he could get the inheritance. Wild. And that's, I was like, what? And then, yeah, okay, we're on Earth 3. I don't know too much about Earth 3. I have a very surface level knowledge based on some Comics Explained videos that I watched. This is a fantastic introduction. You don't have to know anything going into it. They do a good job of explaining this is a place where the good guys are bad guys and the bad guys are good guys. Instead of the Justice League, they have the Injustice Syndicate or something. Instead of the Doom Patrol, they have the Doom Syndicate. Just really great art, too, from this guy. Actually, his last name is 2. I don't remember his first name. Let's see here. Marcus 2. Wonderful art. I really, really enjoyed this. Good classic comic, real flat on the colors, too. I don't know if that was 2 or not. But I really, really enjoyed this one. It was fantastic. And it does connect to the mainline world's finest characters, Batman and Superman, which you find out at the end. So I really, really enjoyed this one. Last DC book that I read single-wise was DC Vertigo's End of Life. I debated putting this with the indies or not, but it's got DC on the cover, so we're going to keep these with the DCs. This is very indie. Kyle Starks wrote this. I'm huge on Kyle Starks. I like the way he writes. This is more of Kyle Starks writing a book along the lines of criminal or scumbag. I like criminal. I don't like scumbag. And this kind of hits right down the middle. You've got a character here that's intriguing in a world that's intriguing, but he's kind of a jerk. He's kind of a know-it-all. He's kind of a, I don't know, kind of a scumbag, I guess. And so some of his jokes are kind of funny, but some of them land flat. I get the impression reading this that Kyle Starks had a good solid script and story for this, and DC said punch it up more with more, raunchiness or inappropriateness for the Vertigo line, and he tried too hard. And so some of these things are just kind of childish. I'm sure it's like edgy in a childish way, but not in a great comic book storytelling way. But I do like the world that we're setting up here, and Kyle Starks has earned enough credit with me that I'm going to continue reading this one. So if you like books that have characters that are non-apologetically awful, you would like this one. I like books that have a world built up around it. Even if the characters are unapologetically awful, I do have a line. Like I said, I normally don't care for when characters are just awful people. But if they're written well, if it's an intriguing story, I will still check it out. And Kyle Starks really does a good job. But I feel like this one just had maybe a little bit too much of DC editorial trying to get him to punch up the raunchiness of it, much to the detriment of the storytelling. Hopefully it'll back off, but I think it's really good. It's very simple indie art style here, but it works for me. So End of Life, I really enjoyed as well. It's actually kind of tough to do a top three because I really liked Absolute Batman. I really liked World's Finest, but I also liked Superman Unlimited. I also really liked Dungeons of Doom and Daredevil and Punisher. Dungeons of Doom, though, it's kind of a mini series, and it was a surprise, but I don't think it was top like these. So I think top three books are going to be these three here. I'm going to order them. World's Finest, Daredevil and Punisher, and Absolute Batman was the top. So there's my top three single reads for the week. And then I also read a trade, because a couple of people in the comments wanted to know the trades. I normally don't review the trades, but I am going through the Incredible Hulk, Philip Kennedy Johnson era here. I read the tail end, and now I'm reading Infernal Hulk, but I didn't read the beginning of the run. So this one I thought would have a little bit more of an introduction, but I found out that actually they want you to start here with Donny Cates' Hulk run, and then you go into Hulk versus Thor Banner and then Hulk Planet. I guess that gets you into this Age of Monsters where you kind of figure out that Hulk closed the green door. I guess some Gamma people kept coming back to life. I did have to go to like the Marvel Wiki to try to figure out what some of these things were and figure out who some people were, and I don't think it's a great jumping on point if you have to do that to understand the story. That said, this is great. I really like this. It is a very horror take on the Hulk. I really like the Hulk transformations in these. I'm almost done with Trade 2. I thought I was going to get the Trade 2 done before I reviewed it. Yeah, I really like the transformation here where it's almost like the Hulk it's not Bruce Banner turning from himself to the Hulk, but it's like the Hulk literally coming out of Bruce Banner. It's absolutely crazy. So this is much more monster driven, much more horror driven. I don't think it's your classic Hulk story if that's what you're looking for, but I am enjoying it. It's a great read. A lot of great action here. A lot of great arc with Nick Klein. I would definitely recommend it. I finished Trade 1. It's really good except for the annual at the back. I normally like David Pepos' writing. Didn't really care for this annual, but everything else in Trade 1 is good. And I'm almost done with Trade 2, so I'll hopefully have that one in 3 to review next week. But that's the trade that I've been reading. It's been really enjoyable. So there you have it. Those are the big two that I read this week with my top 3 picks. Absolute Batman, if you haven't jumped on it, it's an absolute joy. And Daredevil and Punisher, if you haven't jumped on it already, you might be better off waiting for the trade. Unless you're like me and you like the floppies, in which case, hopefully your local shop or someone you deal with online, maybe my comic shop online, has all the singles that you can get up and caught up with. And then World's Finest, this is a great jumping on point because I think this is only going to be 2 issues and then they're going to hit the big 50th. So this is a fun read as well. Thank you guys for watching. Your time and attention mean the world to me. I appreciate you. Subscribe, comment, free 100 to enter the giveaway, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Adios.